If you came up during the late 80s and early 90s, you may remember seeing on TV or hearing about the Anita Hill Clarence Thomas scandal. I remember hearing about it, but at the time I was young and very immature. I heard about it but didn't care much to know anything else about it. All I knew was that there was a black man that had been nominated for Supreme Court Justice, and there was this black lady that came from out of nowhere to accuse him of sexual misconduct. And as soon as I heard that, I immediately formed my own judgment. And in forming my own judgment, I immediately thought, this woman lying. This is some white people that put her up to this to try to keep this black man from being a Supreme Court Justice. And I just thought, why is this lady allowing them to use her like that? We already have it hard enough as it is. Why is she allowing them to use her to keep this black man out of the office of Supreme Court Justice? That's the judgment and the opinion that I formed of Anita Hill. Without even listening to the facts, I don't even think I listened to much of her sworn testimony. Then after Clarence Thomas made his statement, and he went on to actually get the Supreme Court Justice seat in spite of, I thought, yeah, he got it. He's a Supreme Court Justice. That's what I thought. Then years went on and I just kind of forgot about it. It was just another headline that had passed. In 2016, I believe HBO did a movie about it. When I saw there was a movie about it, I was like, what? Why are they making a movie about that? He got the job. She lied. Not thinking that I didn't actually know what happened. I didn't even really listen and pay attention to it when it was happening. So I didn't know. But then maybe about a month ago, I was streaming through documentaries to watch on my streaming platforms on TV. And I saw a picture of Anita Hill. There was a documentary about the Anita Hill Clarence Thomas scandal. And I thought, again? So every time I was scrolling to look for documentaries to watch, I kept seeing the one with Anita Hill's face on it. So finally I decided to watch it. I thought it was going to be a documentary of them, exposing her lies on Clarence Thomas. So I began to watch it. And maybe about a minute or two into watching it, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm about to learn something. And after watching it, I thought to myself, how many women back then thought the way that I thought? How many more women just went to the defense of Clarence Thomas without even paying any attention to what Anita Hill had been through? So I decided to do this video just to inform those who judge without knowing all the information, or those who just may want to know. So here's just a rundown of things that I learned in the documentary that I did not know before. On October 11th, 1981, Anita Hill stood before the U.S. Senate and was sworn in to give a testimony of sexual misconduct that she received at the hands of Clarence Thomas when she worked as his assistant at the EEOC in 1981. Anita said that after working with Clarence Thomas for 3 months, he started to ask her to go out socially. And one of the things I learned is that the way I thought Anita Hill came into this situation was totally wrong. But what I learned is that once Clarence Thomas was nominated by then President at the time, George Bush Sr., is that when a person is nominated for a Supreme Court Justice, there is a vetting process. Anita Hill did say that when she heard of the nomination, she felt that she would be contacted because the FBI does very extensive background checks, and just about anyone and everyone that that person has worked with that has been nominated, anyone and everyone that they work with will more than likely be contacted by the FBI. So she says that when she got the call, they told her, we understand that you experienced sexual harassment at the hands of Clarence Thomas. So Anita says that once she did get that call, she felt that she needed to tell of her experience, or what she experienced working with Clarence Thomas. So she decided that she would make a written statement. So she sent in her written statement saying what she had experienced working with Clarence Thomas, thinking that it would be confidential, and her statement was leaked. And she says that she trusted that the U.S. Senate would take her statement into account because she felt like that she was not the only one. She felt that there would be other women who experienced the same thing. And she said that until she had actually wrote her statement, she hadn't even allowed herself to really process everything that had happened to her, because she really went through a great deal working with Clarence Thomas. I believe she had even went into the hospital for work-related stress. She says that it was a very painful ordeal for her, and she actually ended up having to just leave the work that she loved, and she felt that that was her only way to escape it at the time, so she just ended up leaving the job altogether. So once her statement was leaked, it became part of the news headlines.
From Congress to the White House to the workplace, the sexual harassment storm around Clarence Thomas is intensifying.
Even after it was leaked, no one on that committee, they had voted it out, they were not interested in hearing from me.
They weren't going to do anything about it. But there became a public outcry. U.S. State Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton and Patricia Schroeder went to the Senate and were turned away by the Sergeant of Arms, saying that they were out of order. That, along with public outcry, caused the Senate to have to schedule a hearing where Anita Hill would have to testify. She was notified by then Senator at the time, Joe Biden, that she would be subpoenaed to give a sworn testimony. On October 11, 1991, then Senator Joe Biden opened the hearing with this.
Sexual harassment is a serious matter. This is a hearing convened for a specific purpose: to air specific allegations against one specific individual. Allegations which may be true or may not be true.
Anita said that she was kind of disconnected as to what she was actually going through during that time. And me paying more attention to it now than I did back then when it was actually happening, I don't see how she did it, how she held her composure. That Senate Judiciary Committee that she had to stand before and testify in front of, a table full of old white men. And to me, they were all looking at her with judgmental eyes. But she held her own. She held her composure. I was just amazed at how she could just hold her composure. And the questions that they were throwing at her, it was almost accusatory the way they were questioning her, and she answered them very well. I don't think I would have been able to hold it together if that was me. And it also seemed like some of the Senate on the Judiciary Committee were like Clarence Thomas supporters, just out to just destroy her credibility, just from the way that they were questioning her. It was unreal. I don't see how she did it. She said her intent was just to simply tell the Senate of the behavior from Clarence Thomas that she experienced during the time that she was working with him.
My purpose was to, as clearly as possible, tell the Senate about behavior that I had experienced at the hand of Clarence Thomas. I couldn't say, oh, well, I'm going to prove sexual harassment. I couldn't do that. I could say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell what happened to me.
She starts her testimony by explaining how she met and how she began working with Clarence Thomas. And then that's when she says after 3 months of working there, he began to ask her out socially. And she goes on to get into the other details of things he would say, like stuff about, having relations with animals, and then the thing about him saying something like, who put pubic hair on his coat can. It was some very strange and unbelievable sexual statements that she said that he would make towards her. And with her being such a polished and so educated woman, hearing her say those things in her testimony, it just sounds so outlandish, but she articulates it very well. And I was just like, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I think when her family came in and her mom bends down and hugs her, I think that was what gave Anita the courage to go on and give her statement when she saw her family coming in, and they were sitting right there behind her in support of her. And she even says that it would have been more comfortable for her to just stay silent about it. But when she was contacted by a representative on that committee that's sitting before her, she said she felt that she just had to tell the truth. So it wasn't like she just went purposely just saying, oh, I need to tell what he did to me. And Joe Biden is the first one on the committee to start questioning her. And Joe Biden starts his questioning off with the accusations that she made in her written statement. And he asked her about the incidents that occurred in Clarence Thomas' office when she was working with him. So she says the incident of the coke can happened in his office, and then Joe Biden tells her to go into detail about it, to tell like what specifically happened.
Occurred in his office at the EEOC.
And what was that incident again?
The incident with regard to the coke can that's spelled out in my statement.
Once again for me, please.
The incident involved his going to his desk, getting up from a work table, going to his desk, looking at this can and saying, who put pubic hair on my coke?
Was anyone else in his office at the time?
No.
Again, it's difficult, but for the record.
Okay, and watching her make those statements in front of the Senate, you can visibly see that it's uncomfortable to say verbatim what happened because it sounds so crazy. And she does appear to be uncomfortable, and she does say in the beginning of her testimony that what she actually went through working with Clarence Thomas, and then her sitting there to have to speak about it and tell the world in front of cameras and all those elderly white men sitting in front of her, she said that those were the two hardest things that she had to do in her life.
He used the name that he had been referred to in the pornographic material.
Do you recall what it was?
Yes, I do. The name that was referred to was Long Dong Silver. I mean, it was
I remember hearing that Long Dong Silver comment back in 1991, and I was like, where in the hell she get a name Long Dong Silver? Long Dong Silver? I was like, that man ain't said nothing like that. But watching her actually say it, giving her testimony, seeing her facial expression, I can tell that being a woman to woman, that was nothing she made up. In my opinion, there was nothing she made up. It was not even something that it looked like she even wanted to repeat. So to me, it was like they were almost enjoying humiliating her, because the Senate, they have her statement in front of them. So they're reading her statement and questioning her verbatim. Senator Arlen Specter, he goes, you see it, the most embarrassing thing, and he's laughing. He kind of smirks while he's questioning her. The most embarrassing thing, it's not too bad, but it involves women with large breasts. And he kind of says it sarcastically, like that shouldn't have been so embarrassing to her, because he said, that's something that we use all the time.
Word we use all the time. That was the most embarrassing aspect of what Judge Thomas had said to you.
No, the most embarrassing aspect was his description of the acts of these individuals, these women, the acts that those particular people would engage in. It wasn't just the breast. It was,
I can't say enough of how impressed I was with her giving her testimony, how she was able to keep her composure. And she even says that, Senator Specter, he took an adversarial role, like he had a closed mind, and you could tell in the way he's questioning her, because he's trying to trip her up. He's trying to catch her in a lie and saying well, some of these things you didn't put in your statement with the with the FBI to watch, because they're not treating her like as this person that's just giving a sworn statement to the FBI. They're treating her like she's a person that's on trial. And Anita later said that she felt like they were just trying to wear her down, like it's almost like they feel like they could break her if they kept badgering her with those questions. Professor Charles Ogletree, he was the only black man in this small group of people that came together to support Anita. And he said that he wanted to be there to support her because there were no black men that was supporting her publicly. And he says that in fact some black men even tried to persuade Anita not to testify against Clarence Thomas.
Thomas, you don't do that to a brother. And she says, well, look what happened to me.
And has a dedication to making sure that women are not discriminated against. How could you allow this kind of reprehensible conduct to go on right in the headquarters without doing something about it?
Well, it was a very trying and difficult decision for me not to say anything further. I can only say that when I made the decision to just withdraw from the situation and not press a claim or charge against him, that I may have shirked a duty, a responsibility that I had.
Oh my goodness, when Democratic Senator Heflin started to question her, I was like, what in the redneck questioning is going on here? Trying to find out if you're telling falsehoods or what your motive might be. Then he asked her, are you a scorned woman? Do you have a martyr complex?
Do you have a martyr complex?
No, I don't.
Well, do you see that coming out of this that you can be a hero in the civil rights movement?
I do not have that kind of complex. I don't like all of the attention that I'm getting. I would not, even if I liked the attention, I would not lie to get attention.
The issue became her character as opposed to the character of the person that was nominated. And also Anita had taken a polygraph test, and she was questioned during that polygraph on the accusations that she had made against Clarence Thomas, and she passed every question. The polygraph test that she took concluded that she was being truthful in her statements.
Well, let me tell you, if what you say this man said to you occurred, why in God's name, when he left his position of power or status or authority over you, and you left it in 1983, why in God's name would you ever speak to a man like that the rest of your life?
That's a very good question. And I'm sure that I can't not answer that to your satisfaction.
Did not characterize Judge Thomas's conduct as sexual harassment when you gave the statement to the FBI, correct?
Senator, I guess I'm not making myself clear. I was not raising a legal claim in either of my statements. I was not raising a legal claim. I was attempting to inform about conduct.
And 2 days after Anita gave her sworn testimony on October 13th, 1991, there were people who came to corroborate her testimony. So this was nothing that she just came up out of the blue. This is what I learned. She had spoken to people about this, about the things that Clarence Thomas was saying to her. She had spoken to people about it during the time that it was happening. She had told people about it. So it's not like it happened and she never said anything until she made that statement. She had actually told people about it when it was happening. That was her law school friend, Judge Susan.
Anita Hill told me
that she was upset because her boss was making sexual advances towards her.
In the fall of 1982, Professor Hill shared with me in confidence the fact that she considered Judge Thomas's behavior toward her in the office to be inappropriate. She did tell me they were sexual in nature. I remember talking to her by telephone while she was in the hospital, and she explained to me that what she was suffering from appeared to be...
And with obvious emotion and embarrassment, that she had been sexually harassed by her supervisor at the EEOC. It was so...
And of course, after Anita's hearing was finished, Clarence Thomas was given the opportunity to rebuttal, and he did. And he spoke very well as well, mainly playing the race card. And I don't see how they would allow him, or how he could play the race card when him and Anita are both black.
You have anything you'd like to say? Senator, I would like to start by saying unequivocally, uncategorically, that I deny each and every single allegation against me today that suggested in any way that I had conversations of a sexual nature or about pornographic material with Anita Hill. As a black American, as far as I'm concerned, it is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who in any way deign to think for themselves, to do for themselves, to have different ideas. And it is a message that unless you kowtow to an old order, this is what will happen to you. You will be lynched, destroyed, caricatured by a committee of the U.S. Senate rather than hung from a tree.
So he actually accused the U.S. Senate. They didn't make the accusations. Anita Hill did. Also white. So he and his wife, who I also didn't know at the time, is a white woman, which doesn't make any difference, but I'm wondering if she actually believed Anita, if she actually thought maybe he did this. And his wife has a look on her face like she's wonders that black bitch telling the truth, like my husband. Lying bitch, even if she is telling the truth. She should have never said anything, ruining my husband's good reputation. Clarence Thomas played the race card. None of those men on that Senate committee, none of them challenged a word he said. After the hearing, Anita Hill went back to Oklahoma. Then on Tuesday, October 15, 1991, the U.S. Senate confirms Clarence Thomas to the Supreme Court. Anita went on to write a book about that hearing titled Speaking Truth to Power, and then she became a public speaker for gender and equality. I'm so glad that I decided to watch that documentary. I was glad to have found out the facts behind it, as to what really happened and how that came about, but also disappointed with myself for not even caring back in 1991 when it was actually happening.
I remember one moment when it was just overwhelming, and I just remember having some sort of meltdown with my mother. And then I realized how I'd been able to get through the hearings, because she stopped me and she said, "You know who you are, and you know what you can do, and don't ever doubt yourself."